Okay, welcome everybody to today's episode of PropTech Talks, where we talk with real estate executives, investors, founders, discussing nuances in the industry today and how to capitalize on them. We've got Matus from HB Reavis today. I'm going to let Matus give us an introduction. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Glad to be here. I'm responsible for the operations in HB Reavis. We're a pan-European commercial real estate developer and asset manager. So we own, create, and operate the buildings in our portfolio.
To 5, 10, 15 years ago, how has your career sort of shifted with this with the shifts that the industry is going through?
Yeah, so before even joining the real estate as an industry, I've been amazed how cyclical it is and how the trends are occurring in, let's say, in verge of decades. And even the technological transformation kind of really happens with a fairly long cycle if you compare it to other industries. And speaking of myself, I'm in real estate a little less under a decade. So I haven't seen, let's say, this huge transformational shift, even though this last decade was fairly dramatic from let's say, the COVID era, the hybrid work, globalization, and all these major mega trends that have influenced the commercial real estate. And previously, I was working in IT, which actually helped me to be prepared for transformation.
Understood. So, I mean, looking at these mega trends today, it feels like the industry is finally going through its digital transformation. Would you say that's a fair assessment? And where do you think we are relative to other industries?
Absolutely. I believe the digital transformation is essential for commercial real estate, especially for the premium segment of it. But I see that this is gradually entering different asset classes as well. And the digital transformation has actually a broad impact on the way how not only the commercial real estate is operated, but also how it's designed and how it's constructed. And it touches multiple different facets of even people's lives through the overall well-being, but also digital enablement is also crucial to be able to comply with the highest ESG credentials, which are becoming also important, not even a trend, but a prerequisite for the entire real estate sector.
Noticing another quite interesting trend. We have a lot of executives from tech companies or from other companies. They might be, heads of IT or chief information officers that are now moving to real estate. I think this has started happening, really, I guess, right in the last 5, maybe 10 years, and that seems to be playing quite a part. Now, I've done a little bit of research, and I can see that were previously at IBM. What was that shift like? And what sort of things can real estate actually learn from large tech companies?
It was a wonderful journey. It was very surprising. So I thought that working in a global corporation across multiple countries in a global role will actually help me to deal with literally any industry. But I was surprised how real estate is complex, how it's even neighboring countries, how different they could be from a legislation perspective, the local market specifics, the local commercial demands, and it's extremely colorful and also extremely enriching to see how the complexity has multiple principles that can be worked around. I believe what was certainly for me a great advantage was the ability to work in a complex environment with the metric structure, being able to deal with multiple priorities at the same time, being able to prioritize where you need to focus first, and this job certainly can utilize you 24/7, and still you wouldn't probably tackle all the challenges. But determining what is the right priority at the right time is probably very essential. And Matthew, the trend which you have mentioned in terms of IT people joining real estate, I believe real estate is becoming more and more dependent on data, and it had been very factual industry ever since. But I think now with the verge of technological advancement, with the digitalization and the overall amount of data that you can actually harvest from buildings of this age, it helps you to also make very sophisticated decisions, and you can also deliver higher value to the clients, their employees, and also you can operate the buildings much more effectively.
When the data collection, a lot of companies are getting very sophisticated at data collection. But then, a frequent problem that arises, what impact does this data have? How do you effectively utilize it? Do you see that sort of enabling data to maximize asset value, to make decisions? Do you think this is really the problem to solve? Or is this something that's already been solved? What's your take on that?
In our environment, data is one of our core strategic priorities, and I'll explain why. I believe companies within the sector can be even overwhelmed with the amount of data, and determining what is the important elements to look for, what conclusions is to be made out of it, is probably a challenge that has not been fully tackled. And I think within the premier real estate firms, there are even large departments being created. There's a lot of effort going into it. From our perspective, we've been able to really determine what is the data sets that is crucial for us, both on the perspective on what is important for us as a company, but also what is important for us as a partner to our clients. We're no longer viewing ourselves as the landlords and our occupiers. We're viewing ourselves as a partner to the companies that have decided to use our projects to help. We are seeing ourselves as enabler of their workspace strategy, and in order to do that, we're able to provide lots of insights in terms of how their employees are utilizing the premises. There's a ton of use cases which, of course, we can talk about, which we can provide to our clients, and we are exploring further and further. From a data perspective, it's important to rely on completely accurate data. There's lots of imperfection. So even if we go to the ESG part, there are many buildings which have the energy meters still analog, where the people are walking around writing down the meter readings, and this is a room for a lot of errors. So even going that deep to digitalize the meter reading, so you're 100% relying on the data that you are seeing on your executive dashboards. That is another extremely essential point. So the data accuracy and also the right selection of the data points.
There's so much to dig in on just that point. From the first, just listening, it sounds like we're not only going through a technological transformation, but a people transformation as well, both in how how landlords are now interfacing with clients. It's now more of a consumer centric product for real estate. That's a huge shift because it really was, buy some land. Good luck, you know. And now it's having that two-way dialogue with an occupier it seems to be a huge shift, but same externally with clients, but also internally. So that's what I'm gathering. The other thing that to touch on, and I think we should explore a little bit. You mentioned the ESG component, the decarbonization component, and it's often understood that you need a level of data to even undertake a decarbonization strategy. How that of course is a complex problem with many regulations that are moving asset managers in a multitude of directions. How might an asset manager or landlord or portfolio owner start to tackle the decarbonization issue?
It's a great question. The decarbonization journey is also something that has impact across the entire company. So it's not enough to establish your ESG team and expect that you'll be producing ESG materials on your website, but it truly touches everyone in the operations. And you've mentioned that the shift of even this shift has even personal impact on the job positions, and ESG is also one of it. So it requires that the facility managers understand the key principles, why it is important to implement a certain set of routines. It is very important for the building managers to have reasonable understanding of the ESG targets on a both corporate and legislative basis. It is extremely important to understand the ESG objectives of our tenants, of our clients. Many of our companies are Fortune 500 companies, and they have very sophisticated environmental and sustainability targets where we as a real estate operator can strongly contribute to. And again, it's and you can also select two routes. So there are companies which have gone this, let's say, greenwashing marketing way. So you can do a lot in terms of producing materials and offsetting and finding ways how to interpret the reporting. Or you can go very deep in being able to provide hard data evidence that you truly are managing a carbon neutral building, like we are in London, where being extremely proud that we have this year even received the GRI award for Worship Square, which is not only the zero embodied carbon within the construction, but also one of few net zero carbon in operation building across Europe.
Let's talk about Worship Square. I'm glad you brought it up. We're based in London at the moment. We're actually very close to Shoreditch. We're in Spitalfields. I'd love to learn what can other developers and asset owners learn from, I know retrofit is a big consideration too, and there are still new builds that have net zero goals. What can other asset managers and developers learn from Worship Square? How can they strive to achieve similar net zero benchmarks that Worship Square has?
From my perspective, so the actual credentials of Worship Square are nearly at the level of a retrofit, right? So this is absolutely amazing. The key, I would say, is the fact that the principles have been adopted across the entire value chain of our organization. So it was not our sustainability manager that was responsible for delivering it. It went across the entire development organization, construction organization, design, procurement, and the entire our own integrated supply chain worked to deliver on this goal, and it really requires even a tedious level of detail, and also this principle on how you make the decisions. So where do you procure your steel? How do you procure it? Where from? Well, and how you calculate the carbon impact. And this is not something that the ESG team would be doing. It's really on the level of that particular procurement manager. The same thing how you run the logistics. So it really kind of transposes into every step and every decision that you make.
But shifting away from, at least within HB Reavis, shifting away from its sort of the sustainability manager's job, not my problem. And it's, now something, many stakeholders are striving towards. How, I mean, that seems like a operationally daunting shift, especially for some asset managers who are slightly earlier on, down this decarbonization journey, to go through a cultural shift to get many stakeholders thinking about, CREM, EU taxonomy, different regulations, and benchmarking their own KPIs against KPIs that can decarbonize a portfolio. Getting there, getting a whole organization or their heads around this kind of thing seems daunting. How does one go about it?
It truly has impact on the job specs across the entire organizational structure. And like you've mentioned earlier, becoming a partner for the clients within a commercial building requires a different set of skills from people. And we have seen this even with the initial start of digitalization. Suddenly, even the technical managers are not the people that are able to fix a certain technology with a screwdriver. Many times those people need to be a software engineers in order to really, through a terminal, access the software aspect of the particular technology. Now with ESG, again, it requires some little bit a different set of skills, but it again goes back to the data, to the fact, to be able to determine what is actually important for us, how to ensure that we have the right source, right trusted source, and that we are able to make the right conclusions out of the data that we see, both providing the insights that we need in order to operate the building, but also the data that we need to satisfy the needs of the EU taxonomy, GRESB, etc., in order to be able to fulfill our ESG targets.
It seems that the direction of the industry is, going even over the last 5 years, the importance of adhering to these regulations is increasing, but there is also increasing clarity bit by bit, these regulations and in how to undertake these, this transformation. Where do you think the industry is actually going to be going in the next 5, 10, 15 years? You mentioned at the beginning of this podcast these cycles. What do you think the next cycles are looking like?
What we are starting to see already now is, a shifting routines, how people and individuals are utilizing real estate. We see that the companies are real estate or offices as such is certainly something which is crucial for companies' culture, atmosphere, targets, the sense of being even being human, because it enables the human interaction, which is crucial for the company's growth. And especially the real estate class that focuses on the premier projects with the best locations, best possible amenities, best design. We see that there is lots of movement towards truly central locations, and even the best of the best buildings are utilized the most. And also the occupiers are now focusing on even more sophisticated fit out. And we see that there is lots of move towards even embedding elements of hospitality into office segments that from a human interaction, where is this work-life integration? The core office hours are no longer core office hours, and people would like to use their time probably a little bit more freely, and also to spend time in the office in a various different ways. We see lots of people leveraging the events activities, with not only social parts, but also focusing on mental health and health in general. So I see that real estate is moving, or commercial real estate is moving towards even having a more important place in people's life.
That's interesting because many smart building companies almost invariably also incorporating workspace, for occupiers, not just thinking about we could improve your HVAC system, but really thinking about sort of the day-to-day workers and how they're interfacing with the building, and getting the most out of it. Do you think that this is really what the future of an office looks like? And we talked about sustainability, underpinned by data. Do you think we're seeing a shift in consumer behavior as well? This is just what real estate is going to be. And do you think we need to be prepared because we don't know? What are your thoughts on really the future? And I suppose, what would be your advice to executives at other asset managers, given what we've discussed on this podcast?
I believe there are a couple of trends which are not the question of whether it will be becoming a new normal, but it's already known that yes, this is it. So the environmental and sustainability agenda is here, and it will not go away. The same thing applies for the well-being. People want to feel good in the premises, and eventually they probably do not really care much about how many ppms of CO2 you have within a meeting room, but they simply want to breathe fresh air. They want to have a thermal comfort, and this is something which again is not going to go away. It is expected that you will, when entering an office building, you will feel very well, and that it will enable you to collaborate, that you will not be tired because you're breathing not the fresh air. And also what will not go away is the hospitality services. So this shift towards really ensuring that the moment you enter the building, you really feel that this sense of belonging, that, yeah, this is a space where I want to spend most of my active day.
So I suppose to summarize, the advice to asset managers is to focus on quality, connect more with your consumers, and of course, the understanding that sustainability is not going away, and this is all underpinned by data. Did I summarize? Do you think that fairly?
I fully agree, Matthew. Yes.
I'll ask one final question, and it's for another pretty large component of the audience, which are tech founders, entrepreneurs, or even employees in a lot of these quite new technology companies. What would your advice be to that side of the industry, the industry looking to support asset managers like HB Reavis and others? What might your advice be for those companies to be successful?
Not to be planning for perfection, but to be delivering every day a better, slightly better service. And then perfection is inevitable.
Fantastic. Matus, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you on this podcast today. For everybody who's listening, thank you very much for tuning in, and hope to see you all on the next one. Thank you, Matus.
Likewise, thank you very much.
Thank you.